All right, y'all. Here we go. Here we go. My name is Johnny, and this is Johnny Live. We're live out here at our new studio, and R&J is the name. I want to say what's up to everybody out there. Hope y'all doing good. And we just laughing back, kicking it. I got my new headsets on. We got a couple for the studio so we can start recording and things like that. So real nice. But we're gonna get into a real deep topic, y'all, that I've been focused on here for a little while. And it's about Black depression. Actually, I was gonna do an episode with a young lady just recently, but she decided to tap out at the last minute. So instead of pushing it back till the weekend or next Monday, we actually gonna do it today and just kind of talk about it because I think it's a passion of mine. I think it's a real important topic because a lot of us have been going through some type of depression even after the pandemic. And so now that we are out of the pandemic, it's like, now what? You know, some of those same things, same feeling of loneliness. After the pandemic, we're still living and experiencing. So that's what today's topic is going to be about. We're going to talk about depression and different ways that you can work your way out of depression. And how do you know that you're even depressed or going through some type of depression? So those are some of the topics we'll be talking about today. So, and we're going to watch a couple of videos, not long videos, but we're just going to kind of keep it short, sweet, and simple. And I can hear you. We're going to keep it short, sweet, and simple. That's my business partner over there, grooving a little bit. So, and actually I sometimes I want to record in the booth, do podcast, but the lighting in there is horrible. Like I can barely see myself. So we're going to just continue to do them out here. And hopefully I get a backdrop, some neon lights back there. So it'll be dope. But yeah, we're working on some major things. So make sure that that sounds a lot better. So make sure that y'all tapping in with us and just hang with us. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be some really, really nice things that are happening and coming up here in the near future. So with that being said, we are on a few streaming platforms, one being Facebook, which you can see me on now, and another is YouTube. And also we're on X, formerly known as Twitter. So if you see me on YouTube, make sure you're subscribing to my channel and liking it. Give me a thumbs up. If you see me on Facebook, give me a thumbs up, and Twitter. And those things help us grow. Having followers helps you grow as any type of media outlet. So I've always asked people to do that for me. And if you could do that for me, I would definitely appreciate it. Anyway, so here we are, y'all. And I just want to say shout out to my people down here who are also building content and things like that, because it's not easy, y'all, to build content and to be consistent with it. That's one thing we were talking about, being consistent. I'm definitely going to try to be more consistent with my podcasting because a lot of people tap in, and I don't know that. Sometimes I get to a point where I'm like, nobody's watching, because you don't see no numbers up there. So in your mind, you're thinking that nobody's watching, but people are watching. In fact, I had a truck driver who just recently told me, like, yeah, I'll be watching your podcast and things like that. So people watching, they listen, and that's good. So, and they tell me in the club, they tell me in the store and all that stuff. So it's a good feeling to have people watching you and followers and paying attention to what you're talking about. Because like one thing he said, that my podcast, I talk about things that are important, to everyday life. And I want to continue on doing that. I do a lot of celebrity news and stuff like that, stuff that I find out, but I also do like real life stuff. So make sure that y'all tapping in and just give me Give me your comments if you see something on here. Give me your comments and things like that, and I'll talk back. I'll talk back. As a matter of fact, if I see a comment here on the podcast, I'll make sure that I give you my opinion live as I do the podcast. So, yeah, with that being said, we'll go back to talking about Black depression. And the reason why I say Black depression, because that's only a depression I know. I don't know about no other depression. And I know sometimes, like me being divorced, when I was coming out of my divorce, I went through a phase of depression, and I mean, no lie. Sometimes I think sometimes I slip back into depression, and it could be just the fact of being by myself and lonely and things like that that will bring on, a type of depression and things like that. But you have to recognize when you're depressed, when you start feeling a sense of loneliness and you want to be by yourself, you don't want to be around anybody. Or if you're a talkative person and then you just start muting yourself and just not speaking up as far as in different conversations and things like that, you start not taking care of yourself like you used to take care of yourself. That's why you always see me lined up. I can not be going nowhere in particular, but I always try to keep myself lined up, my hair combed and things like that. When I had hair, I mean my beard. I try to keep my beard combed and things like that, looking good, because you have to take care of yourself. Nobody else is going to do that, and wear decent clothes. But if you see yourself slipping and you're not taking care of yourself, or actually even doing things for yourself, then that could be a form of depression. Um, Sometimes, if you find yourself eating a lot, that could be a form of depression. You're just eating just to be eating. That's what got me to a point where I was like blowing up. You know, I would just not even being hungry. I would just eat something because I felt like I had to have something to eat, and that was like, how like what they say, the Peanuts, Charlie Brown, and they had the guy in there. He always had his blanket next to him, and his blanket made him feel a sense of security, right? It's the same thing with like eating and things like that. Sometimes when people eat, it makes them feel like there's a sense of security, because they know they can always go get some food. They know they can always go and put something in their mouth, and it makes them feel good. That's why I have foods that there's particular foods that specifically called feel good foods. And the reason why is because eating these foods make you feel good. You may not feel good afterwards, but as you're eating those foods, then it makes you feel good, especially if it's hot and things like that. You like also a warm hug and things like that. So, you know, sometimes we do things to ourselves that are not good for us. And that's one real way that that you're being depressed. If you're eating for no reason, I mean, what's the outcome going to be? You're eventually going to hurt yourself. You know what I'm saying? You're going to get out of shape and things like that, or even your your health. So those are things that signs that you can see that, hey, maybe I am going through depression. I mean, maybe I need to talk to somebody. Maybe I need to pray about it. Another thing would be drinking. If you're a drinker and then you just automatically become a heavy drinker, you're drinking every day. You get up in the morning, you start drinking. You know, those can be signs of depression. Or smoking. Whether it's weed, marijuana, or it's cigarettes. You just chain smoking when you're normally not a chain smoker. If you smoking Newports, chain smoking Newports, yeah, you kind of depressed. I mean, ain't no other way to look at it, because you are really doing something bad. You're hurting yourself. Not necessarily weed, unless you're just smoking all the time. But if you're smoking Newports back to back, that is the first sign of depression. Now, with weed, I know like a lot of females who are trying to get the strongest weed out there. And I even seen like nowadays they have this weed that's got white powder on it or something like that. They call it white donuts or something like that. Like that look like crack. you know. Um, so people are trying to get higher and higher and higher. And it's it's fun to a point, but then you have to realize that you are really trying to mask something. What are you trying to get away from? What reality are you trying to escape? And those are things that you have to really think about, because we are supposed to be able to face our reality. So if you're to a point where you're trying to smoke until you can't smoke no more, then you are trying to run from reality. And that's something that you really have to take a look at and say, well, wait a minute, maybe I'm not well all the way 100%. So think about that. Or you're not eating. You're not eating like you're supposed to. You're losing weight because you're not eating like you're supposed to. You're going through depression. I remember one time when on my weight loss journey, I had another guy who he was trying to compete against me. He was like, "Yeah, I'm losing all this weight. See, I'm losing all this weight more than you." And his somebody in his family had just passed. You know what I'm saying? And well, it was causing him not to eat. And people are like, "Yeah, look at him. He doing good." And it's like, in my mind, I'm thinking, y'all need to be trying to see if he's okay. Like, because first of all, this is not a race. It's a marathon. It's not no race to see who can lose the most amount of weight. Because honestly, if you don't lose weight the right way, you're just gonna gain it right back. And starving yourself to lose weight is one of the main ways that people just gain it right back. Because your body gonna store sugar because you're not eating. As soon as you start eating sugar, as soon as you start eating anything that's got fat in it, your body's gonna start collecting that fat again, like 3-4 times. So you're gonna gain the weight back. So that's not a good idea anyway to starve yourself. But starving yourself, he was dropping a few pounds and things like that. And people are like, "Yeah, awesome for you, awesome for you." And I'm sitting there thinking, like, y'all need to be seeing if he's okay. That should be the main thing. Numero uno, number one. Let's see if he's okay, and let's go from there. So people around you can bring you down and bring you in depression, especially if you feel like you're supposed to be where they're at in life. I think Facebook is one of the biggest things that people don't even know, because every day you are seeing somebody do something that maybe that you wanted to do. Somebody started a business, somebody dropped a mix CD, somebody they selling food, and you're sitting like, man, I should be doing that. So Facebook, it psychologically in your mind, you're measuring yourself by somebody else's accomplishments. You don't even know it, but you're measuring yourself by somebody else's accomplishments. And that can bring in a depression as well. So we're going to watch a little bit of this video. I'm not going to play it all, but we're going to watch a little bit of this video. And it talks about females, ladies, talking about some of the issues in depression that they're going through. And like I said, I'm not going to watch all of it, but we'll just take a look at it a little bit because I got it set up here for you. And once again, if you see me on any of the platforms, make sure that y'all are sharing it, liking it, and that way I can grow my podcast. That's what it's all about, y'all. Let's see, take a look here and see how I'm gonna bring it up. Let's see. Give me 1 second. This microphone really sounds good. I'm learning, and that's the crazy part, y'all. I'm really learning how to do things the right way. So we're gonna play this video, and y'all tell me what y'all think. You can still leave your comments and things like that. So
we're going to be talking about mental health and Black women,
and they're talking about mental health.
For a long time we didn't hear a lot about.
Hi, gorgeous.
But are slowly starting to hear more women like ourselves talk about mental health. And I know you have all heard the phrase, the strong Black woman. Trisha, when you hear the term strong Black woman, that's your reaction.
And just real quick, like, I always say that. Like if I see a black woman and I see her doing her thing, I'd be like, man, I might even tell her like, you a strong black woman. I didn't know like some females don't like that. They don't like to be called a strong black woman. And just by watching this documentary or watching this small clip movie, it made me understand and realize why they don't like to be called strong black women all the time.
I reject it. I dislike it greatly.
Yeah.
I reject it. I know that it has its roots in slavery, in plantation
Has its
labor,
roots in
chattel
slavery.
slavery. It is this stereotype that was placed upon black women to box us in, to manipulate us, to make us not see ourselves as full divine beings, to push us. Strong black woman to me
Full divine
allows so
beings.
much time for abuse and manipulation, for not resting, for burning yourself out. Like, we really have to look at what's systematically happening that's making us be so, traumatized by our pace of life. And so the strong black woman has never been anything I've ever related with. Superwoman, I want rest, I want ease, I need help, help me now. I want help. And so I really like to dismantle and like pull back the veil around that term. Like, we shouldn't be claiming it.
It makes me think of a Malcolm X quote 60 years ago. Malcolm X said, the most disrespected woman in America is the black woman. The most unprotected person in America is the black
How
woman.
many of y'all feel like that? The most disrespected woman in America is strong black is a black woman. See, I went back to that strong black woman again. But how many of y'all feel like that? That the most disrespected person in the world is a black woman? I've always been told that black women are like the second most respected beings on earth. Like it's white men, then black women, then white women, and then last black men. But I'm also learning that black women don't feel like that. They feel like they're the most disrespected behind black men. And so that's very eye-opening.
6 decades later, there are many people who would say not much has changed. And so when you think about the strong black woman trope and the impacts of that, Ian, how do you feel about that?
I 100% believe that we need to remove the idea that every black woman must be a strong black woman. The problem is that I don't think we've yet decided what black women can be in this space that's left behind from that space. And the idea is, be yourself. Who is allowed to be themselves in this world, especially black women? And I have to also highlight the fact that as a black trans woman, a girl denied of my girlhood in Birmingham, Alabama, and growing up, and the model of womanhood that I tried to emulate and follow was the strong black woman. And now I'm suddenly in this new space. Do we have space for soft black women? For emotional black women? For black women who aren't really good at their jobs, but are great as people and human beings? Are we prepared to make space, and not just make space for, but honor the humanity of black women who don't really have much to contribute as far as a product, yet have so much to contribute as far as people?
Dr. Williams.
That's one thing that puzzles me because I've never, and I'm not trying to get myself in trouble by saying this, but a trans woman, I don't know if I necessarily look at her as a woman. I mean, I have a hard time. I struggle with that, I don't know if I would respect a trans woman as if she was a woman, but I guess that they want to be considered as a woman regardless. So that's something that I don't know. I never took the time to think about, but just seeing a trans woman talk about how she is dealing with being, it boggles my mind sometimes, but obviously they have their struggles as well.
How often are these topics brought up in your office?
These conversations,
James, do you see a trans woman as a woman?
No.
Let's see.
No.
That was very quick. I've never.
Funny. Not to be funny. I just
Right, and that kind of makes me, I want to know what a female feels about that, because like there is real competition. I mean, I'm not saying there's real competition like that, but like they're trying to compete, which I've always thought like when I was growing up and I would see like gay men hanging with the women. To me, it felt like those gay men didn't just want to be the women; they wanted to overtake the women. They wanted their place, so to speak. But I mean, that's just me. Okay, so let's just go on.
I'd like to say are common, but they're not. I was speaking at an engagement a few weeks ago, and a woman, you know, people come up and they ask you questions later. And she said, I think what you said was amazing, but can I ask you something? Who takes good care of you? And I said, you can't ask me that. She said, yes, I'm asking you. And I said, I can't say. You know, when we're talking about just taking that deep exhale, that's something that is not common. It's something that is like, okay, I'll find a special day.
When I talk about resting in the way I'm framing this work, it cannot happen by ourselves. No. Community care is right up there. We scream self-care, self-care, self-care. And it's like literally all you hear in the media is self-care, self-care, self-care. And I really want us to begin to shift towards thinking about community care. Those systems do not exist right now. Like, why are we like this? Why aren't we caring for each other, you know?
Well, because we're afraid of each other. If we're not self-hating, then we're hating on you.
Do you think it's the idea of hurt people?
I think it comes from a few sources. I think self-hatred, absolutely. Jealousy, absolutely. My grandmother used to talk about crabs in the barrel.
Yeah, we've heard that.
We go up and you keep pulling us down.
Yeah.
I think they may also think there's not enough room for all of us.
The scarcity.
Because most of the time, you end up in a place, whether it's a workplace or whatever, you look around, if there's someone else, well, there's only room for one of us.
Exactly, so not enough room for us. Each one of us, we don't know what our breaking point is. We look like we're all okay.
My naivete is that I just inherently believe that if I look at you, if I look at you, and you look like me, it don't matter if there are slight differences or whatever. If you black like we black, if we black, we good. Even if you can't see yourself in me the way I see myself in you, I will grant you that humanity. And I will still work for you. I will still fight for you.
You know, we haven't even gotten to thriving yet.
No.
How do we thrive? How do you
I just
talk
right now I
people
think
into
black women are
thriving?
Right.
Come on. Come on.
I mean, just the black women that I see around me, I think black women are striving and
My
doing very
grandmother,
well.
she didn't think about her life. Neither did my mom.
Yeah.
And so this is really a new concept
It is.
for us, even in this time in our lives. So when we talk about trying to thrive, I think the underlying basis for all of this is that we inherently like who we are.
That's good.
And we will fight for who we are. That's how you thrive.
Being proud of who I am and whose I am. And also letting myself fall.
Yeah.
Letting myself go, you know, in the past 2 years, deeper and darker than I've ever let myself go. That has been the key to it for me. Of just saying, okay, well, girl, I'm trying. Like, I'm trying. And
all you can
no
do
one
is
can
try.
say that I'm not.
When I think about other black women in my life, like always boosting them up and letting them know that you are enough. You come with so many gifts and talent that just were given to you at birth that you have in you. And so those foundational key allow me to tap into spaces of thriving at many points in my life.
I mean, this was such a powerful conversation. I think, like, you gotta lean into the lows because that's where the lessons are. And that is what keeps you going to the next height. So thank you all for sharing so much.
And see that right there? I talked about that earlier this week on a post that I made. and it had a few reactions to it. But I think that's one thing that females are leaving us behind, us men behind, is that the sisterhood. Like they they are constantly building each other up. Whether it's going to school, girl, you got this, go on and go to school. Like, I don't know. I mean, like my partner James, like if I'm going through something or whatever, he'll boost me up. But I don't know very many people who would even do that. Black men. You know what I'm saying? You're going through something, man. Look, you just gotta stick with it and go ahead and I don't know that. I don't know of a lot of black people who would do that. You know what I'm saying? Black men who would do that. So they have a sisterhood, somebody that they can go to and talk to. When we struggle, who do we call on the phone that's gonna sit there and listen to us? Like, I think sometimes I call one of my female friends and she gonna listen, because dudes they not trying to hear that. I call my cousin Corey. I hate to mention his name. He listened a little bit, but you could tell Corey, he'll talk about something totally different. He ain't trying to hear that. He'll you know what I'm saying? Like, who do we go to when it's time to talk to somebody about our issues and things that we're going through? So that sisterhood is really, we don't have that brotherhood, so to speak, unless we're in some type of organization or religion, and then but the average person don't have that brotherhood. And that's, I think, where the breakdown comes. I even heard, like, during the pandemic, like, a lot of sisters were getting together and doing like a book club. Man, we was isolated in the house playing our game system. They was doing like book clubs and stuff like that, bonding. That's what I'm trying to say, bonding, like on a real level, getting together, having a girls' night out or whatever. We don't do that. So I think that's one thing that is keeping them together, is building each other up. Now, back in like I said, the 60s, where we had the black movement and things like that, like, they kind of broke off and went to the women's movement, and that's still going on today. Even though we kind of relaxed with the black movement, we don't push it as much, but they still pushing that womanhood, that sisterhood. That's a big difference, y'all. A big difference. So that's something we really got to look at, y'all, as black men. Like, how do we get back to our positions? How do we become friends with each other again? How do we become homies with each other? I hear a lot of men say, "Oh, man, I'm out the way. I'm out the way." But stop being out the way. Because another thing is, like, you see, like, women, you see them, they putting those same values into their daughters. The sisterhood values. I'm not saying it's like it's not saying like it's how your grandma used to do it, but they are putting some of them same values into their daughters. And we as men need to put those into our sons, because we're gonna come up with a generation. And then that's how we are right now. We're coming up with a generation where it's not brotherhood. You don't see, when I was growing up, you'll see like 5 or 6 guys go to a club or go to a party. Now you may have 1 or 2, or they go on solo. We're breaking ourselves down. We don't have that togetherness, so to speak. And I don't know what's causing that. We'll be jealous of each other. Like, I've seen Rick Ross talk about why black people don't like your post. And if I speak about it, people will be like, "Man, you just being petty." No, Rick Ross even speaking about it right now. It's like, black people are not like your post because maybe they're talking about you, and they don't want to show other people that they support you in any type of way, because they already know that they've been talking about you. It's something deep about that. It's not just they just don't see you, or they lazy. There is a reason why black people are not liking other black people posts. There's a reason for that. You can say what you want to say, but social media right now is life. Is life. So if you're doing something, especially if you're doing something positive, and they're not liking your post, that says a lot. Because first of all, it'll make you sit there and be like, well, what am I doing wrong? Why aren't people liking this? But let two people go out and start fighting with each other or start beefing with each other. They'll get all the likes. They'll get all the views. I know people will go live right now and talk about absolutely bullshit and have 100 people on their page, to where somebody like me talk about something positive and maybe two people get on my page, maybe three. You know, it used to be busted back in the days. I don't know what happened. I go live and I be busted. I had like 25, 30 people on my live, you know, but nowadays it's, and I was talking to my business partner about that around Christmas time, when everybody start getting these new devices and people going live, people who've been doing podcasting and you know, positive things like that. It's going to be so much out there anymore because everybody trying to go live. Everybody got a story to tell anymore. You know, and the positive stuff is probably going to get washed out because people, for the most part, aren't trying to hear that. But they need to hear it. So we're going to end at that. I'm not going to keep too chatty because this is going to be a series. We're going to talk about it a little bit more. Hopefully, I can get the young lady on because she was talking about some really good things on her Facebook page and some things that she's going through. I would have never known that she's depressed. People do a good job of masking it. I would have never known that she's the type of person that she's depressed. I mean, pretty, just outgoing and things like that, but certain things that she don't want on the outside, that's inside. And so we want to talk about that. Hopefully we can get some other people on here to talk about it as well. But with that being said, we're going to get out of here. Like I said before, we're going to try to keep on doing these routinely. Like, my schedule's so crazy, y'all. Like, I go to work, come to the studio, go back home, get up, go work out. My days were starting like at 6 o'clock in the morning at one time, you know, and I was trying to get back to that, but it's tough. It's rough. But anyway, we're going to leave y'all with that. I want y'all to make sure that you tap in. Let me know what you're thinking. Y'all, these headphones sound so good, and this mic sounds so good. OMG, I hope it sounds good to y'all. So with that being said, we just growing. We're growing, we're getting bigger, and we're doing better things. Most of my views today came from Twitter, X. So we're going to focus on Twitter, X, and things like that. And wherever we're getting the most response, that's what we're going to focus on. So with that being said, I want to thank y'all for tapping in. My name is Johnny, and this is Johnny Live. Thank y'all for watching.